This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Markwood.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the 29th episode of the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios here in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. This is the North Park building here at Academy Square. We've got a fun episode on deck for you, talking a little bit about the upcoming year-end banquet at Empire Dragway that's going to be held in Mount Morris, and also looking ahead past that to the event in March that we are again going to be part of right alongside Empire Dragway at Finger Lakes Speedworld in Finger Lakes Mall. The first order of business right off the top is that year-end party that Empire Dragway has been hosting year after year now, happening in Mount Morris. Looking forward to that. They're going to hand out all the awards and the trophies and the championships for the course of the year. We got to get this out of the frame so that we can see Jason completely. There's Jason. Jason's joining us from home in the home office. There he is. Hey, Jason.
How's it going?
It is going all right, going just fine. So the season has now concluded. They've already got a little bit of the makings of a schedule and some information coming out about Empire next year. But to put the final touches on the 2017 season, they're going to have to hand out those final year-end trophies and some prize money. And it was a pretty competitive year over there on the whole.
Yeah, it definitely was. Overall, I think all the points races basically came down to the last week. I don't know that anybody went down to maybe the last couple of weeks. Maybe Paige Montgomery might have clinched the Junior Dragster Championship, let's call it with a couple of weeks to go. But I think all the other points races were all decided in the very last week. So it was competitive as usual.
Competitive to say the least. The grand champion, Ron Dean, coming away with that. He also won the combined bike sled division there. Paige Montgomery winning a world championship and the Junior A championship. Matthew Vogler, the Junior B champion. Sam Capizzi Jr., the street champion. Friend of the show, John Cera, winning the pro championship, and Don Keuchel winning the super pro championship, respectively. When we get out to the year-end banquet, which is coming up here on the 20th of the month, we're going to be talking with a number of those drivers, and also going to be working on a simulcast where we're going to be able to have a camera situated adjacent to the podium so everybody at home can watch some of these champions as they accept their awards and share their words and their reflections on the season, which is kind of cool. You know, last year we were sat next to the windows and we were hoping for the best. Now that we've done it once, we can kind of know what to expect.
Yeah, we did the best we could last year, obviously, right? It was kind of short notice, and you and I were thinking about it and said, hey, why don't we go do the podcast from the banquet and live stream the banquet? And it was definitely cool, and we had a bunch of people that were certainly watching live, but I think, just like anything, the second time around, you can make improvements. So I'm definitely looking forward to having some of those improvements this year and making just a better show for everybody to be able to watch.
We're hoping so. We're certainly hoping so. The year-end banquet, the deadline is tomorrow. If you do want to go, you've got to get your orders in basically immediately. There is lodging on the grounds, so it'd be easy enough for somebody if they did want to stay overnight. They've got that opportunity at the Country Inn and Suites. Of course, now is the prime time for this computer to not work, so I can't very readily pull up the graphic that has all the information on it that I was looking for in terms of pricing, locations, and stuff. It is the Genesee Riverfront Hotel, right? Is the official name of the facility?
That is correct. Like the Genesee Riverfront Hotel and Banquet Center, I believe, is what it officially is. Genesee River Hotel.
Genesee River Reception Center. There it goes. I finally got the computer to work. And we're back up on our feet along those lines. So, yeah, Genesee River Reception Center in Mount Morris. So looking forward to getting back out there. The last time that I was through Mount Morris, if I recall correctly, I ended up having to leave my van outside of a Dollar General so that we could effectively do what we had planned to do and then circle back for it so that we could get so that we could put the air back in the tire and get that thing all situated and straightened out. It was a heck of an adventure, but it's one that made memories that are going to last.
Yeah, honestly, I had forgotten about that, and I still think, I think I owe a patch kit to one of the guys that helped us out because we were able to, or not the patch kit, but the plug kit, because thankfully, being at a racer's banquet, we were able to find a plug kit because guys carry that stuff in their trucks. But yeah, we need to. I think I still need to replace that, honestly.
Yeah, we'll give an award in the in that gentleman's name. The schedule of the event: cocktail hour 6 o'clock, dinner at 7 o'clock, awards from 8 to 10, and then entertainment from 10 until question mark. Again, the Genesee River Hotel, 134 Main Street in Mount Morris. The Country Inn and Suites is at 120 North Main Street, which is situated. It's right in the same complex. And again, you're just about out of time. The deadline is tomorrow to get in on the banquet. 585-738-6898. 585-738-6898. Right on the EmpireDragway.com Facebook page if you want more information on it. And there are still rooms available. So if you want to get out there and enjoy all aspects of the Empire Dragway banquet, you've got that opportunity. Empire Dragway is going to be part of Finger Lakes Speedworld this year, which is coming up on the backside of the banquet. But before we get into the actual racing season, so we're going to bring a lot of the participants and some information about the track to Finger Lakes Speedworld at Finger Lakes Mall in Auburn. And Jim Olin is now joining us on the line. Jim, how are you?
Excellent, Chris. How are you doing?
We're doing okay, doing just fine. Thanks a lot for coming on and hanging out with us here for a little while. Third year that you've been in charge of this one. Things, I'm sure, getting smoother and smoother the more times you go through the process of putting the show together.
Yeah, some things smoother, some things rougher. It was tough with the date change last year, going from the weekend after Motorsports Expo to going to the weekend before Motorsports Expo. It was a tough decision, and I'll tell you why, because I lost a lot of cars and a lot of participants that said they were going to come because they were burned out from doing Motorsports Expo. Right. So I put it the weekend before Motorsports Expo, hoping I could tell those people to stay. And, you have to pay to get into Motorsports Expo, so you pay for that spot you're going to go. So not trying to take anything away from somebody else's show, but I am definitely trying to fill a space at mine.
The show this year move in on Friday the 2nd, the show running Saturday and Sunday, March 3rd and 4th. A lot of stuff being added to it this year. Right now it sounds like the Gas Racing series is going to be back, part of the event out there. Western New York Super Rod Association is going to be there because basically Jason doesn't have a choice because he's going to be out there hanging out with us with Final Round and doing some live elements. 31st Lap is going to be out there. Crash Course is going to be out there. The Hall of Wreckers going to be part of it. That's up at the front of the old Kmart building, the old Sears storefront where all the derby cars are going to be situated. The rest of it, however, front to back, it doesn't have any distinct affiliation. You've got dragsters sitting next to snowmobiles, sitting next to dirt bikes, sitting next to go-karts, sitting next to dirt modifieds. It's a type of show that's for all ages.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And the center court area this year, our headline track is going to be Land of Legends Raceway, the former Canandaigua Motorsports Park. Right. With their new management this year, they're taking a lot of different directions as far as racing is concerned, and I think they're doing a very good thing, and we're proud to have them on board. We have 6 cars so far that are going to take up the center court area this year. A couple of guys returning that are always there. Daryl Ruggles always comes out to the show. He's always been a supporter, and Dave Barcachilli will be back with the Page Transport 1M car. So, nice. And we've got some other cars coming out as well. But yeah, it's filling up. A lot of support this year from Syracuse Mike Rod Club and the NISMA, the New York State Mike Rod Association. Sure. So we're really getting in on the entry level stuff as well. And I'm just glad to see the drag racing support, because the straight line guys, they seem to get passed over a lot when they do these mall shows, and I think that drag racing is great. A lot of the roundy round guys look at it and are like, oh, that's boring going in the straight line, but until you've done it, until you've gone and watched it, I don't think you can form an opinion. And
last year we had some excellent support from the Gasser Racing Series. Had a couple of gassers that are more traditional gassers, the late 50 Tri-5, Bel Air 210, stuff like that. But we also had a couple of the more obscure gassers that people haven't seen in the movie American Graffiti. That narrowed opal that had come out of Vermont, and also we had a Chevelle, which the license plate was misleading. It can go far faster than, I think it said 11 seconds on the plate, and it can go much, much faster than that, as we were told. And it's also, just like everything else in the drag racing world, it is for sale. If anybody wanted to bring enough money to bring that home, they could walk away with it.
There you go.
It would look...
and I'll tell you, those cars got a lot. They were down in the center court area last year in front of one of the old jewelry store kiosks right outside of Bass Pro. And those cars got a lot of looks last year. And I was really surprised at the reaction of people, because they came in expecting to see just oval track dirt cars in there. And to see the dragsters in there was just absolutely huge. So, yeah, the support is unbelievable.
I was really happy to get the response back from some of the folks over at Empire that they're going to bring some event literature and things along those lines to share at that, because that is a track that is way, way west of anything that we would expect. And last year, the Gassers put a lot of effort into making it in doing double duty, because they had another event that they were taking part in the snow and all the mess out near Buffalo the same day, and for them to come up with a commitment and the track itself to pledge a little bit of support to Finger Lakes Speedworld, I thought that was a big feather in the cap to get those gains. You know, that the fact that the straight line guys do frequently get overlooked at the motorsports expos, and Finger Lakes Speedworld was able to give them a little bit of attention. It was now reciprocated with additional support this year.
Right, and every bit of support is appreciated, because working this type of an angle on a show, when we have everybody calls it a grassroots type of campaign, we don't have big money sponsors. We don't have any backing for this show. What we have is a bunch of people who love racing, and everybody gets together, and we stuff that mall full of cars, and we stuff it full of people, and we give everybody something to do. We don't charge them a nickel for it.
The show itself isn't geared just towards the passive or the static motorsports expo that you're probably in your mind at home thinking of what you're going to be going to. There's interactive displays. You can get up close to the cars. It's a lot of meet and greets with drivers, a lot of the bench racing, if you will. You know, a lot of the circle track guys know what the bench racing is all about, and the drag racers, they're not foreign to that either, rehashing all the stories of past battles and things along those lines. But there's other neat things to it. You know, if you're a drag strip guy and you've never seen anything along the world of circle track, there's going to be an area where you can go watch old videos of dirt racing at the Moody Mile from up at the New York State Fairgrounds. And then there's parts where the drag racing crew can be part of it as well, enshrining their own people and their own efforts. You know, we talked to Dan Delaney, Jason, a lot of times about what he's into in the offseason. He does a lot with models. This year, Finger Lakes Speedworld has added a model car element where people can bring models and set up displays. So think about all the cars that he's got both in boxes and out of them that he's done, that he's customized, that he's airbrushed and stuff. He could bring a chunk of that stuff and expose a whole new group of modelers to what's going on in the drag racing side of the world. And then this was the thing that really got me last couple of years, and that I kind of think that you would latch on to pretty quickly, Jason, is the Homemade Hall of Fame. The fact that you can bring your sports memorabilia, your whatever the track is, whatever the driver is, whatever you might have, and there's going to be a dedicated storefront that's open that you can set your stuff into. It's under safety, security. Nothing's going to get walked away with or anything along those lines. But you can create a leg of the Hall of Fame that's different every year, and sometimes this is the only time any of this memorabilia sees the light of day. So you can honor people, you can share things that are exclusive just to your collection, and stuff that people may have not ever seen before, but it's yours. It's not coming from a dedicated museum that's putting the stuff on loan. It's coming out of your closets and out of your Rubbermaid containers.
Yeah, you know who we need to get to the show, I guess, is not only someone like Dan Delaney, but Sean Beatty as well. Sean has a huge collection of various memorabilia, and getting him to have a little table, if you will, just to show some of the more little unique, I guess, pieces that he might have. That would be really cool. I'll have to start working on Sean to see if I can get him to come out to the show, because that'd be really neat.
What were some of the things that we had there the past couple of years? I know you've had Jim, you've had the I'm trying to do too many things at one time here and not paying attention to what I'm doing. You've had there was a Hawaiian Punch go-kart there. At one point, you had a Rusty Wallace stock car, full-size, actual running, driving, moving, fire-breathing stock car. You had all sorts of stuff from your dad's career. What are some of the other things that we saw in the Homemade Hall of Fame in years past?
We did have a guy from Oswego a couple of years ago bring up a whole truckload of memorabilia, and he did a whole wall of pictures and autographs and helmets and fire suits and things that he collected from Oswego Speedway over the years. We've had other people just bring random stuff in and put it up, and I do remember that there was one kid in there that I think he was like 9 or 10 years old, this kid was, and I talked to so many people, I wish I could remember his name and give him a good shot in the arm, though, but his dad had passed away from cancer, and his father was a racer up north. He raced in tracks all over Canada and Can-Am and stuff like that, and he brought just a picture of his father in Victory Lane at, I believe it was Brockville, and just hung it up on the wall in there. Just one picture. That's all he brought. And he was just, he like enshrined that picture and kind of stood there and talked to people about his dad all day, and that was very touching, so it's everything from if you've got one 3x5 photograph and a frame you want to hang it up, or if you've got a whole U-Haul truck full of stuff that you want to bring out, that's what that display is about. And I love seeing the racers, the pure at heart racers, the guys that are in the garage out there wrenching on their cars all the time, and the guys that are running back and forth between different pit areas at the track helping guys out. Those are the guys that you see in there, in their little coffee clutch in the corner talking about this track and that guy and the other guy and this one. And remember when that happened out at Canandaigua, and the other thing that happened at Skyline, and just it's unreal to see the reactions of people, and it stirs up emotions in people. To see this stuff. So, and like you said, a lot of this stuff never sees the light of day. It's on some dusty shelf, or something that's you grow immune to it because it's in your house. It's there all the time. You don't even think about it, and then you're like, gee, somebody would really like to see that, and you bring it out, and there it is. So
Jason, have you got anything possibly in the room that you're in right now that would fit the bill of a Homemade Hall of Fame?
In the room that I'm in right now, I guess that's possible. I mean, I could bring that poster that's frame poster that's right behind me. That was an Excel ad that the Motown Missile, actually at that point in time it was the Mopar Missile guys did. It is autographed by a couple of guys, including my uncle. So I mean, I could bring that certainly. I know up in the top of the closet is actually my old drag racing game. I forget. Oh, God, I forget who it was that the manufacturer is of it, but I don't know if you remember the old Avalon Hill games, but it's kind of like that, kind of a collectible card game, but you roll the dice and move your guys down the track, if you will, and it's all drag racing themed, and it's something that is pretty cool. And I don't remember. I guess I would say probably is my uncle that's in there. I can't remember if it's my uncle or if it's Don Carlton that was in there as part of the Pro Stock class. I think it was my uncle, though. I think that's why I ended up buying that off of eBay. So there are a couple of things. I have a pretty cool Ronnie Sox crew shirt that I could bring out. I mean, there's some neat stuff, but my stuff, honestly, it really pales in comparison to the stuff that Delaney and Sean Beatty have. So I mean, yeah, I'd love to get those guys to bring their stuff out. Whether or not I could get them to do that or not, I don't know. But I guess I'll see what I can do.
And it's not just because it's Jason's birthday today that he's being humble. He's always like this, downplaying it. He has a house full of Mopar and Motown Missile memorabilia that people didn't even know was ever produced. But yeah. he likes to put the spotlight on other people. That's right.
Yeah, and it's and it's not my birthday. But yes, that is correct. It's unbelievable how much stuff I have over here, and no, I mean, really, I don't have that much stuff. There's lots of stuff that I wish I had, and but I do have a couple of cool pieces. I think that are good conversation pieces.
Skype told me that it was your birthday. It has to be true.
Seriously?
Yeah. I'll show you. I'll show you after the show. It's still sitting up there plain as day. I can't cut away from it now because you're on camera.
Right. Well, isn't that what like the guy from Frosty the Snowman? Isn't that what Frosty the Snowman says in his thing when he comes to life? He's like, "Happy birthday!"
As a matter of fact, it is.
So maybe that's why I told you that. I don't know. But no, it's not my birthday.
The stuff that Dan Delaney has acquired over the course of his travels and his time, between the new edition shirts that have all the retro look, the original edition stuff, we touched on the models notwithstanding, all the paint jobs and panels and stuff that he's got. I mean, we would need a whole storefront just for him to do his own Hall of Fame,
Yeah, I would say, even with Dan, it'd be super cool if he even brought some of his photo albums out and just sat them out, because it's the encompassment of what his work was over the course of the last 3 or 4 decades, and to be able to go through and look at those old pictures and be like, oh yeah, I remember this car. I could sit and look at his photo albums for hours on end. I mean, so even if he just brought those, that would be cool. But yeah, he's got some pretty cool stuff. I think his prized possession. So his dad worked at the Maston Street Armory in Buffalo, and they used to have the Clutch Artist show at the Maston Armory, and he used to go there as a kid with his dad to the show. And at some point in time, I don't know who it was that got it. Dan could tell the story, he may have on the show previously, but one of his friends acquired a turnstile from the Maston Street Armory and had it all restored and gave it to Dan as a gift. And I think that's probably Dan's prized possession, because the fact of the link to his dad, who's no longer with us, unfortunately. But yeah, he's got some neat stuff for sure.
That's so cool. I don't know if you heard Jim when he was saying there in the that they've got the room to give Dan his own room if he wants it.
Oh yeah, we've got them, and the more the storefront spaces. This is the problem we run into, is when you use an empty store in the mall, people will walk by, even if they're there for the race car show, they walk by the storefront and they think it's a store. So they don't go in there because they feel like they'd be obligated to buy something.
Right.
So we always try to do some kind of signage or something like that out in front to let people know that this is what that is. There's nothing for sale in there, and you can just go in and kind of look around. So my biggest issue with that is lack of staff, because I end up wearing 1,000 different hats that weekend, and Chris knows. You see me running around like a crazy man, and sometimes I'll come and talk to you just so I have a chance to sit down for 2 minutes, and I'll do a podcast just so I can sit.
Right. Well, we're going to be live with Crash Course. We're going to be live with Final Round, live with 31st Lap at various iterations through the weekend. Saturday is going to be the big RC oval track race, the 150 lapper. Creekside Entertainment backed that last year. It's going to be part of the Northeast Mud Boss Series this year. Sunday, up at the old Joanne Fabric storefront, provided that's still available, is where Ed Brewster's planning on having the RC Demolition Derby with the metal body cars. National Outlaw rules both applying to that event. I think it's pretty cool that the RC stuff has been embraced so much. But again, like you've alluded to so many times in your appearances on this show and others, is that there's something for everyone in whatever walk of motorsports life. There's something there for you.
Yep, and we're working on tracking more stuff down. Our big focus this year, other than highlighting Land of Legends Raceway, is I don't want to see even one bored kid there. I want to make sure that there's some stuff for the kids to do. So for the real little ones, we're actually setting up like not a daycare, but like a play area where you could take the kids and drop them off for half an hour and go walk around if they're really getting bored with whatever, or maybe they're just too little to really be into it. We're bringing back Dale Darling's doing the Power Wheels racing again this year. That'll happen in the Joanne Fabric store. We've always had good response with that with the kids. Doesn't cost anything. It's lots of fun. And I'm actually working on some leads we're trying to get a Pinewood Derby track in there.
Oh, cool.
And, so because that always attracts some attention too. And, we've heard about, hey, you got to check that out with the Boy Scouts and stuff like that, because they all do that.
Sure.
So if I can track that down,
can we have an adult Pinewood Derby race?
Say that again?
I said, can we have an adult Pinewood Derby race?
I'm in.
I would say, because, I was in the Boy Scouts, and I did a Pinewood Derby race when I was a kid, and didn't do so well, and I have to say, I want redemption.
You know what I'd really like to do? And I don't know if the mall would let us do it, but we have all these empty store spaces. I would like to set up a workshop where people could come in and build their own CO2 cars and run them. And we used to do those, and we did those, I think, in middle school, where you take your little chunk of balsa wood and carve out your little car and stick your wheel kit in there, and then you tap a CO2 cylinder in the back and fire it down a guided track. I think that would be a good event, not if this year, but, to be added soon. And again, that's what makes this an interactive show. There's stuff to do, and adults want to play with toys, too.
Yes.
So.
Yes, we do.
That is entirely true. The Pinewood Derby track is a good add-on, because a lot of those Pinewood Derby cars, it seems like once you built them the first time, you had to sit on them for a year before you could do it again. But then you'd want to build a different car, so you only got two or three chances to race 2 or 3 different cars, and after that, you either got rid of them or they sat in a shoebox up in the attic until your kids got old enough to be in Scouts too, I guess. I don't know. I never really got to that second stage.
Well, that's where mine is, in the shoebox up in the attic.
You're going to dig it out?
I was going to say, maybe we could do a vintage class.
A vintage class, there you go.
Vintage Pinewood Derby class. We'll call it the Dry Rot 100 or something.
Wow. It would work. And with the storefront space, just in case we've got anybody that's listening that's ears pricked up when we started talking about the footage from Syracuse, if the storefront space is available, would it be possible to potentially air old memories or old highlights from back in the day in the drag racing world? Would it be possible to find a way to get that on the wall somehow?
Yes, I have an open format for that. I can tell you that we played the Syracuse videos the one year because our big thing was a tribute to the Moody Mile.
Right.
And then last year we showed a lot of stuff in the little theater area because that was generally supported by the Dirt Motorsports Hall of Fame. So we were showing the 1980 Syracuse Super Dirt Week race because we had Gary Ballou's Batmobile sitting in front of it. We still have a lot of support from the Dirt Hall of Fame Museum in Weedsport, but I believe that the racing theater this year is going to be largely managed by Thomas Video Productions.
Okay.
But it's our show, so if I say to whoever's running the films in there, listen, we need to show this. This has to go into a rotation, and we can do that. Also, we have discussed having panels or discussions, and if somebody would be interested in, like, as a historian, boy, it's a tough word to say when you've been up since 1 o'clock in the morning. If you had somebody who's kind of a historian on, whatever type of racing you're into, whether dirt racing or drag racing or anything else, and they wanted to do a presentation of any type, we would make sure, because we have a portable stage that we can use there, we have a sound system we can use, we can set up anything. We can make it work. We can make it happen.
That's cool. Your wheels turning yet, Jason?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, historian-wise, I mean, I think Dan Delaney is at least my personal drag racing historian. So we got to get him up on stage, I guess, talking about the olden days, and he's old enough to do that. But I mean, as far as, like, the storefront goes, too, I know Sean Beatty again. I mean, I'm bringing him up here for the third time with regards to memorabilia. I know that he has been trying to pare down his collection a little bit, just because of the fact that he has accumulated so much stuff over the course of the years. This would be a good potential opportunity for him to bring some of his collection out, and even though it's not necessarily all for sale, right, put some price tags on some of it. Hey, this stuff is for sale. I'm trying to get rid of some of this stuff. And it's not that we're trying to make it a garage sale, right? But if you had some pretty cool memorabilia like that you were trying to pare down a little bit, I think it's a good opportunity for you to do it and share it with other people as well at the same time. I guess one question that I had for Jim is that I'm wondering, have you heard, gotten commitments from some other than, let's call it, the different racing organizations? Have you gotten commitments from any specific racers that are definitely coming out this year?
A lot of the oval track guys that are kind of big supporters of the show, there's certain people that will definitely be there. A lot of it it comes down to, well, I put my race car in the garage in September, October, whatever, and I strip it down to the chassis, and I'm going to put it together 2 weeks before racing season starts.
Yep.
So it's tough to get commitments out of people for that. We lose a lot of people to the dirt, the big dirt championships down in Volusia in Florida, because at that time most of those guys are coming back from that show. And Sellens Grove opens like the weekend after. Of course, there's Motorsports Expo. We fight it out with them. And Southern Tier Speedworld happens the same weekend as my show at Finger Lakes Mall does. So we lose some of the Southern Tier guys to that show as well. But as far as like firm commitments, a few, not as many as I'd like to see. But as Chris knows, we always start out. 100 people say they're coming, and 30 people show up, and then while the doors are open, another 75 people sneak in.
Right.
So that's just what we deal with every year with it.
It's pretty typical. Dave Marcichelli is coming back again, correct?
Yes, Dave will be there. I know Daryl Ruggles will be back. He always comes out, and they're both going to be set up for the Land of Legends Raceway display. Also, Ben Carlson and Eric Carlson. One race is a sportsman modified, the other race is a sprint car.
Yep.
Both of those cars will be there and set up in that display. Have not heard from Torrey Stoudinger if he's going to bring a car out this year, but I assume if he's got one done, he'll be there. He had the 7S sportsman modified that was there last year.
Right.
And like I said, we have a lot of space to use up, so that was the big decision last year with the Derby cars being in the one hallway area. We decided to give them their own space up at the end of the mall, so they had the whole hall and they can do whatever they want up there. We're hoping that they come up with some kind of a theme to make that a walkthrough like a really cool display. A lot of the kids. We've got commitments from the Syracuse Mike Rod Club. They'll be there largely because I'm part of their club, and I told them I won't flag for them for the season if they don't show up.
The Derby cars took up a section of the mall right in front of the Joanne Fabric building. Now they're being moved up to the top of the building. They were sharing space with South Butler Nostalgia Dragway. Last year they had they had a wagon with a giant hood scoop on it, and they had an altered wheelbase, Plymouth Belvedere. They were showing all sorts of video and stuff for their appearance. It sounds like they're going to be coming back again this year. And the nostalgia cars always seem to draw attention just because that's what so many of the people that come and walk the mall remember in terms of what this region's drag racing landscape was like. That's that look back is it's a trip in a time machine, Jason.
Oh, there's no doubt. I would say, I was last year was the first year that I was at the show last year, and I really enjoyed the show. I mean, it was nice to see. I don't know how many drag cars we ended up having there. Probably, I'll say 5 or 6. But it was really cool to see some of the stuff that we were able to see, and it was really nice to be able to also experience, different forms of motorsports that I really don't get exposed to all that often. But I guess I would say that here's an opportunity basically to call out to some of the drag racers that here's an opportunity to put your car in a pretty cool show in a really, really nice environment, quite frankly, and get your sponsors some exposure as well. It was a good time, and there was a lot of people that were there too. So yeah, I would certainly highly recommend it to somebody that's looking to do a show with their car.
It's again Finger Lakes Speedworld at the Finger Lakes Mall in Auburn, right off 5 and 20. It's easy to get to. Come 90 down to Weedsport, and you can backtrack down 5 and 20, or you come 90 down to Waterloo and get off at 414 and then run 318 to 5 and 20. Both either way will bring you right to the front doors. Moving again on Friday, March the 2nd, and there is a electric buggy that will be made available from Bass Pro, one of the bad boy buggies that'll help drag cars up the hill so you don't have to push them, which is always a nice advantage. So we don't have to worry about exhaust fumes and things along those lines, but still it can be motorized and delivered to its resting place for the weekend, whatever car may be there. And then the show runs concurrent with mall hours on Saturday and Sunday, March 3rd and 4th. And we'll have an opportunity, Jason, in about 10 days when we're at the Empire Banquet to try and finalize some of these details as well and bring them to you when we go live from the Empire Banquet here on the 20th of January in Mount Morris, which we're looking forward to. We'll have a bunch of those champions right close at hand, and maybe we can pin down a couple of those drivers to bring their cars over.
Yeah, that would be super cool. Honestly, I have to say that it's obviously, given the time of the year and we're in upstate New York, it's weather can obviously be challenging at times, but for the most part, you look at weather going down the thruway, the access to the Finger Lakes Mall is super easy. It's not like it's a difficult place to get in and out of, and I would even argue it's easier to get in and out of than like the Buffalo Convention Center where the Motorama is. I mean, now you're downtown Buffalo, and certainly been to that show plenty of times with streets that weren't plowed, and they have nothing as far as ways to get your cars in and out. I mean, if you're I think it was last year or 2 years ago, I know Jeff Lutz took his rig out and got it stuck, essentially hung up on the convention center floor as he was trying to get the heck out of there because there was such a massive ramp trying to get out. So yeah, like I said, the Buffalo Convention Center downtown could be a challenge at that time of year too, and the Finger Lakes Mall certainly has very easy access to it. It's right off the thruway, really. So, I mean, I think that if somebody really wants to bring their car out and show it, there's really no reason why you can't do it at that time of year, even though, yeah, it might snow, but it's really not that big of a deal. And like you said, I mean, I think we could potentially use the Empire Banquet next weekend to see if we can get some guys to commit to bringing their cars out. I think it'd be cool.
The Finger Lakes Speedworld event itself, it has an active Facebook page, but just jump on there, look up Finger Lakes Speedworld. It comes right up in the search bar. Jim, do people have to RSVP, so to say? Is it preferred that people let you know that they're planning on coming, or can they just show up?
It's preferred that people let me know that they're coming, so that if they we have a lot of space available with electrical power. So if you've got lights or you want to set up a TV to play a monitor to play videos or whatever, I really need to center people around certain areas to make sure that those spaces are utilized properly. Also, if you're bringing along a sponsor, if you have a car that's sponsored and you want to bring your sponsor out there to sell their product or market their product, you're going to need a little bit extra space. So that is always something, especially with the dirt car guys. Some of them have some pretty big sponsors that would like to be showcased. And the other thing that I ask is the people who are affiliated with an organization, if you want to be together, I need to know that as well. So if Empire Dragway, if they bring out a bunch of cars and they all want to be in the same place, then we might not be able to put them where we want to put them. We might need to put them someplace else.
Sure.
But what I can tell you, there isn't a bad spot in the mall, because when you have a mall that's only got one really big store, which is Bass Pro, and you got a JCPenney at one end and Great Outdoors RV Center at the other end, you got to walk the whole mall to go from one to the other. So, there just isn't a bad spot. It's all good.
We're definitely looking forward to it. If it's worth noting, we will need access to power when we're out there. But I think we can probably make do with whatever we got. We've been able to be pretty mobile and flexible before, and I'm certainly looking forward to getting back out there. It's always a fun show. Once again, Facebook.com/Finger Lakes Speedworld, all one word. You can find more information there. Send a message, just drop a note, say, hey, we're looking to come in, and we're going to need X amount of space. Space is virtually unlimited at this point. It's really cool that Finger Lakes Mall has embraced this show the way that they have, and have made every accommodation possible. And if they haven't made it yet, they're certainly willing to do so to make sure that everybody can get shoehorned and fit inside there. I remember last year it was getting pretty tight, and then it's like the floodgates open, and all of a sudden we found another spot to stack another 6-8 cars.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. We had a couple of conflicts of just trying to keep cars together, like the Gasser Racing Series. Those guys wanted to be together. We didn't have any place to put them to keep them together, and then we had somebody that bailed out on us for a center court spot, so we stuck them together in the center court, and actually it's one of those things that just worked out really well. And the displays last year, everything fitting really nice. And I go in there Thursday before the show, and all those little carts, those little wagon kiosks that they have, I push them off to the side. I move all the couches. I move all the chairs. I do it all myself. I'm like a madman when I go into the mall. People are in there going to Bass Pro, and they're like, "Who's this lunatic moving all the furniture around?" Hey, there's the thing that the mall has figured out over the last few years since I've taken over the show is that our show is the biggest weekend that mall sees. In fact, the manager of the JCPenney approached me last year and told me that they did better the weekend of our show than they did the previous 2 weeks of Christmas. So we're talking one weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of sales were bigger than the 2 weeks before Christmas.
It's not bad.
So,
it's a good shot in the arm. That's some good advertising material that should be on the marketing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool too for the fact that
we're ready to go. I'm tying up some loose ends. I got a lot of personal stuff going on right now, and honestly, the show has kind of been the furthest thing from my mind for a couple of weeks, but it's getting done one piece at a time. So, and I couldn't do it without the people that have always helped me out. You've always supported me with the podcast and being there, and you got the RC Derby involved, and that was just a huge thing, and now it's like a national event.
Yep.
So
sure is. But Jason, you were saying?
Well, I was just going to say that it's really cool that it's free for people to come and go to the show, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that's part of the really cool thing too, is that not only do we have all these great cars, and not only is it a great show, but it's free, for God's sakes.
Right.
So I mean,
that's
really nice.
That's always been my complaint about Motorsports Expo, and not to bring that show down, because I think that's a great show. It's right down the road from my house, and I've been going since I can remember, since I've been a little kid. But it's going to cost you, I don't know this year because it's a new promoter in there, but anywhere between $12 and $15 per person to walk in the door. Okay, so if you bring the kids, now you got mom and dad. I don't know if there's a reduced rate for the kids. I know like 5 and under is free, or 4 and under or something like that is free. But by the time you're in the door and you eat, you're into it for $100 easily. And to walk around and pick up some schedules and look at some race cars, and there's just not a lot to do there. So
right.
It's a great show. It really gives people a foot in the door for the racing season, but it's not, I'm this guy that, if I don't like the way somebody's doing something, I'm going to go over here and do my own and see how that goes. And if it fails, it fails. If it goes, it goes. So far we're going 3 years in a row.
Well, keep chipping away at it. It's going to break, and you're going to have more cars than you know what to do with. You're getting close to that issue last year, and it certainly sounds like the momentum has continued this year. And again, well wishes to your baby. It's 14 days old. Had to have open heart surgery, and they gave you some pretty bleak odds. But it sounds like things are turning at least somewhat for the better, with far more optimistic outcomes at this point.
Yeah. Everything is. He's my fiance tells me that he's the rock star of the 6th floor there at Strong Memorial. So. No, he's doing very well. He's got some medical issues that were pretty tricky, and but he's progressing quickly. So I'm sure sooner than later, Dave Axton will be measuring him for a fire suit, and we'll be throwing him in a go-kart. So.
Is Dave going to be there with the fire gear?
What's that?
Is Dave coming again this year?
Yeah, Dave has reserved a spot, and he said if he has his sprint car together, he will be there with that as well.
Oh, fantastic!
And that's another good shot in the arm for us, because Dave takes the time to measure people for their fire suits. He's a high side racewear; it's his business, and he does a really great job with what he does. His prices are reasonable, and he supports us, and we support him 100%. So
awesome. Well, again, man, is there anything that we missed? We tried to hit on the big thing is we got to hit on the dates. Again, March 3rd and 4th. We've got the dates. We hit on the Homemade Hall of Fame. The model guys are going to be able to come. We've had conversation with Jason Sauer, who's one of the most recognized artists in the United States. He's a big graffiti artist, and he does all sorts of stuff. He was just recently highlighted at Art Dazzle down in Miami. and he had a demolition derby car door that he rattle canned up and then took a grinder to it and was showering models in sparks down in Miami, and it was really cool. He's done the berms at Blizzard Bash in Topeka. He's done tons of cars at Bash for Cash in Chillicothe, Ohio, on top of doing Blizzard Bash and stuff like that. We're talking about maybe trying to get him up there to be part of the Demolition Derby display, which he would pair pretty nicely. I bet you they could compare some pretty serious notes, him and Dan Delaney.
Oh, there's no doubt. It would be super cool too to have him, if he could, do some type of live artwork in front of people, right? That'd be pretty darn cool.
It would be awesome. And there's the space to do it. So again, it's just a matter of getting all the parts and pieces to fall into place and getting the stars to align so that we can make it all happen. And Jim, man, it's coming together.
Don't forget the guys with the vintage dragsters. We've got the pinup models coming.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that part.
Yep, vintage for veterans. They will be there. They're going to want to do photo shoots with the cars and stuff like that. And so I want to make sure that they got a plug in there too. They're a volunteer organization. These girls have some pretty solid collections of vintage clothing, and they'll come out and they'll probably do a couple of different deals with drivers, and just taking pictures with their cars. And it's if you've ever been to like the Syracuse Nationals or things like that, they do pinup model contests, and the girls will walk around and do pictures with the cars. So that's a lot of fun, and nothing's cooler than having a picture of a pinup model with your dragster, put that up on the wall in your man cave. Good to go, right?
Hard to argue, right?
That might just be enough to get a couple of guys off the fence and get them to bring their cars out right there.
Right.
There you go.
So we hit on the pinup girls. Was there anything else that we missed?
We don't have all night, so it's a very complex show that is built one piece at a time, and it's a lot. And again, I don't really have a staff, so what happens is we're going to get there the weekend of the show to set up. I'll be there Thursday and Friday. I'll be like, oh, geez, I forgot I was going to do this, and then I got to run out to Home Depot and buy a bunch of 2x4s and build something quick or whatever because I forgot. So, it's getting a little bit more organized, but as of right now, I don't even have anything written down. It's all in my head, and my computer that had everything on it, all my flyers, everything that you've sent me over the last couple of years, Chris, all the stuff you've done for me, gone. Computer crashed, all locked up in a hard drive, and I can't find another dinosaur of a computer to plug that hard drive into so I can get it back up and running again. So I'm starting over from scratch.
I can get you all those flyers again. That's no big deal. You just had to tell me that I didn't realize that you lost them. We can get those again. That's no big deal.
Yeah, well, you do a better job making them too. Mine look like garage sale signs you post on a telephone pole outside the local supermarket, and yours are like all classy and got pictures and drawings on them. So
I try to help where I can, I guess, huh?
Hey, every bit's appreciated.
What about you, Jason? Is there anything else that we got to hit on in terms of the Empire Dragway banquet coming up on the 20th in Mount Morris?
Well, the banquet itself, I guess I don't think so, other than I will give a shout out to people, essentially letting them know that if they haven't gotten their tickets yet, that the time is coming very, very soon here. Friday the
tomorrow. 12th. It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, the 12th is the last day. So you need to call Claire Escacia 585-738-6898 to basically reserve your tickets with her. I mean, basically at this point, I think they would just reserve the tickets you'd pay at the banquet if you were going. So that needs to get done. If you're doing rooms, the date has passed already for that, so I think you're on your own for making your own reservations. But my guess is that you could get a reservation at the Hampton or the Country Inn and Suites where the banquet's being held. So I don't think that's a problem. I will say that Empire this week did officially announce a pretty cool race. September 15th and 16th, I believe, are the dates. Where they're essentially going to put together, the 15th and 16th, where they're going to put together their own essentially sportsman national event, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Oh, nice.
So the TNT Super Series is going to be there with the 1090 series. The Can-Am Stock Super Stock Series is going to be there with their guys. The West New York Super Auto Association is going to be there for $990. And I think they're still looking at potentially adding a $890 Super Comp class, and maybe even trying to get some top dragster and top sportsman guys there too. But you have at least all three of those classes that are going to be there that weekend, and it's the same weekend I think as a $5,000 to win bracket race as well. I think they're going to have. I don't know if it's just going to be on Saturday. I think the bracket race is just Saturday, but it's going to be a pretty full weekend of racing. And Pat called me up a couple of weeks ago and asked if we'd be willing to do it, and I was definitely looking towards that weekend anyways as our finale weekend, if you will. So we were on board right away, and FJ Smith was too. So that's been announced. They might do another one as well. I know that I talked to Pat too, and I don't think they've officially announced the date, but he has confirmed that the Street Outlaw guys are coming back there probably first week or so of July too. So they're definitely moving along with their plans at the track too. So
awesome.
Yeah. So it's stuff is moving along. I have to say, this year it seems like things are getting done from a schedule standpoint earlier than they were last year. Last year, not only from the Western Super Auto Association standpoint, but just in general, it seemed like last year things weren't really getting put in place until the end of February, early March. But the schedule's wrapping up here pretty quickly. So it should be obviously, next week at the banquet, they're going to announce a whole bunch of stuff, I'm sure. They did talk about their paved pit spark or their pit parking policy, at least for 2018 as well. I'm sure that's going to be addressed next week at the banquet, as well as honoring the champions. But the banquet typically is the time for them to announce kind of all their big things going on for 2018. So it should be a good weekend, and I'm definitely looking forward to going out there and doing the podcast from there next week too.
We're going to go for 3 hours like we did last year?
I'm okay with going for 3 hours. I mean, the time, I will say, flew by. I would just like to be able to eat dinner this year if possible. Because you and I both, we had to forego dinner last year. But as long as I can have a meal, I'm all in for, hey, we'll start broadcasting at, 7 o'clock or whatever it is when the awards start, and go until 11. I don't care, but feed me, for God's sakes.
Right. We can work it out. We got the opportunity to plan it out a little bit. I'll bring everything that we got, and we'll make it all work.
Yeah, and I think it'll be nice too. I mean, we're going to get there a little bit earlier again. It won't be last minute. We're planning this a little bit better this year. We'll have some better camera angles, and hopefully get a little better audio maybe as well than we did last year. So for the viewers that are going to be at home, can't make the banquet, they should be able to go online and watch the banquet live. And to my knowledge, we're the only track. Empire's the only track around here that has their banquet broadcast live. I don't think anybody else is doing anything like that, so it's kind of cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
They will
yeah, me too.
You mentioned it. All of a sudden, it's going to be the new thing to have banquets broadcasted live.
Fun Around Drag Racing Podcast is available for hire to anybody who wants to televise their banquets. Just feel free to contact Chris Marquardt at Fun Around Drag Racing Podcast. How's that for a plug?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, nothing like a little selfless promotion. I like it.
Well, it is good.
I didn't get a chance to mention it, but I'm loving your sweatshirt tonight, Chris.
Thank you.
I would say I haven't had a chance to wear mine yet. That's part of for those of you at home. That's Western New York Super Auto Association sweatshirt that Chris has on this evening, and Chris did the design. Looks really, really great, and I'll have some examples of them at the banquet. That way, if anybody wants to potentially order their own, they can.
We'll take orders on site. You name it, we can do it.
I wear extra large.
All right.
Made that part easy. Well, Jim, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. We're butting right up against it. We're just about out of time, so we're gonna skip on out of here. We appreciate you coming on, and probably once we get a little bit closer, maybe the week leading up to it, we'll catch up again and see if there's any new developments leading into Finger Lakes Speedworld March 3rd and 4th at the Finger Lakes Mall in Auburn.
Yeah, looking forward to the show, and I'm looking forward to what you just said. Hopefully, adding some more stuff between here and there. So I'm really gonna be beating the media bushes here pretty good over the next couple of weeks. So you're gonna start really seeing Speedworld lighten up. It'll be on the horizon. So hopefully hopefully people get involved this year, and we're going to make it a great show.
Sounds good, Jim. Appreciate you coming on. We'll talk soon.
All right, thank you.
We'll see you later.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
There goes Jim Olin, lead organizer for Finger Lakes Speedworld, again, March 3rd and 4th in Finger Lakes Mall in Auburn. I think it's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. We got a couple fun events on the horizon between the banquet and this, and it's going to lead us right into the regular season in a hurry. Once we get past that, it's going to be a sprint.
It really is crazy how fast it will go. There's no doubt about it. By the time, like I said, you get to the first week of March there, it's going to be a couple of weeks. And at that point, Phil Harnden will be coming back from Florida and, say, hey, you need to come over and help me put this car together. And we'll be going out, getting the car ready to go testing. And, like I said, it'll fly by pretty quickly. I'm glad that we're doing the show again. It was fun doing it last year, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing it again this year, too.
You going to bring your RC cars and go race?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I have to say, that was kind of a neat, I guess, side piece to the show last year too. Was the fact that, there was other things to do, and there is the food court in the mall, which is nice too. So you're wandering around, and you can get yourself something to eat while you're there. And heck, at the end of the day, you if for some reason you get bored of looking at cars, all right, you can go over to Bass Pro and walk around there for a little while, and it's a neat deal. It really is. I really appreciate the fact that Jim puts all this work into it, and doing something for the mall as well. It's a mall that's obviously stumbled across some hard times, I guess, and it's been a pretty good event for them, obviously.
And I think that was one of the places where we really started formatting some of the ideas going forward. After the meetings that we had here, some of the early shows for the final round, once we did that mall show, we were only about maybe 4 or 5 months into this, which would be, 10 episodes? 8 to 10 episodes?
Right.
So,
I see I'm our fearless co-creator tonight.
Yes.
But yes, you're right. That was... it's amazing here that we're over a year in at this point on episode 29. I can't believe that we've done that many of them already. It doesn't seem like it. But I certainly enjoy doing the show. Hopefully people at home enjoy listening / watching to it. But yeah, it's been fun for sure, and I'm certainly looking forward to continuing to do it for as long as people are watching. And but yeah, doing these events, even Clara Scatia mentioned to me this evening when I called her about getting tickets for the banquet. She asked me, are you going to be, simulcasting the banquet again? And so, it's definitely not going unnoticed. People definitely are taking notice, and hey, it's a fun time, and it's pretty cool that we can get some exposure for some of the local racers around the western and / upstate New York area.
Awesome. Well, it's fun to be a part of it, and we're continuing to build with the final round. Just like everything around us, everybody's striving to do better, and that's what we're looking to accomplish. If we can be part of the tide that races the ships and makes everybody in this part of the state a little bit better, a little bit more proud of their product, put a little bit more effort into it. I guess we could walk away saying mission accomplished right there.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess we haven't decided yet. We'll have to talk, I guess, offline as far as figuring out when we're going to go on air for next weekend. But for people that are watching at home, somewhere 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock-ish next Saturday, we're going to be broadcasting live from the Empire Banquet. So I guess if you can't make it again, set yourself a little alarm in your calendar there to go off to make sure that you join us when we're going to be broadcasting the banquet.
Or, of course, your other option, go ahead, throw us a like on the Facebook page, and from there, we would be able to you'd be able to follow every time a new episode comes out. Just hit the link, hit the like button, hit the follow button, and you'd be able to know every time we post something, and we would be posting the show links so that everybody knows where to find it after we complete all of our testing and setup and make sure everything's going to work the way that we want it to. Everything will be right up there on Facebook, easy to find, and of course it'll be streaming live on fingerlakes1.tv. Just like always, you can watch it on YouTube through our channel links as well, and we'll do what we can to get that up on demand. So everybody, if you don't have the chance to watch it, or you want to go back and relive all the excitement of crowning those champions at the Empire Dragway banquet, you can go back and see it that way as well. Coming up on that hour mark, so I think that is going to do it for this episode, number 29 in the books of the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the North Park building here at Academy Square. For our guest Jim Olin and Jason Oldfield, we appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us for a little while. We'll see you again live when we're on the grounds for the 2018 Empire Banquet. We'll see you there.
This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.